Joyous celebrations recognizing success abound, but it's not every day people celebrate profit and its moral purpose.
What's wrong with profit? Think of its opposite. It's called loss.
Every year, the Acton Institute in Grand Rapids, Michigan prepares for a special evening. Acton promotes ideas that lead to flourishing communities. People like John Boy could have stayed home. He is a friend of tonight's featured speaker and is familiar with her views.
Well, I've known Betsy DeVos for 30 years, and she became involved at Potter's House School as a mentor, and that got her involved in education, urban education in general.
But coming to hear his friend and mentor takes an act of courage. There is probably no other cabinet secretary who riles passions like Betsy DeVos. For decades, she's been fighting to modernize the American school system, and a big part of that is allowing parents to choose schools.
Well, we are here to just counter that perspective. Excuse me.
Shame on you! Shame on you from taking from public school! Shame on you! Don't protect them. Shame on you!
Do you think this really accomplishes any goals?
We need, as a America, we need to form a resistance against this type of fascism, against this type of corporate greed and taking from public schools.
Betsy DeVos has no idea what education means for people of diversity who don't have all the money that she has been privileged to have for all of her life, all of her people, all those people in there. They ooze money. It's $175 a plate tonight.
She's killing public schools. She wants all the little children to go to the kingdom of God, and it doesn't work that way.
Cruella DeVos used her pyramid scheme to buy her place as the boss. She wants to replace science with the cross. Cruella DeVos.
His ragtag band of protesters was small but loud. Not even a real band could drown them out. The guests managed to get through the uproar, but Boy, a teacher, couldn't help but notice the irony.
When I walked down the street, it looked a little bit like a circus with some very amateur signs, with some costumes, blowing horns, and saying insulting things, which as educators, and I've taught, for decades, that's not exactly what we're trying to teach our students. We're trying to teach our students how to have peaceful, intelligent discourse.
In contrast to the noise outside, the speakers set the tone for inside.
Our nation has always opened herself up to disagreement, to debate, to dialogue. Yet it seems the civility required to dignify these disciplines has almost all but been lost in our time.
In making the case for improving the nation's schools, Secretary DeVos had delivered as Boy had hoped.
Some in Washington seem to think that because of their proximity to power, they're in a position of making decisions on behalf of parents. And that's become the status quo in education. In that flawed scenario, the state replaces the family, the schoolhouse replaces the home, and the child becomes a constituent. But it is the proximity of parents to their own children that naturally puts parents in the position of power.
Boy thought of the Potter's House School, the urban-based Christian school he runs. It's private, but reaches out to families of all stripes and income levels. Children are there because their parents want them there.
Your money belongs to the system, not to your student, they say. Let's not mince words on this. They are totally wrong.
The Acton Institute welcomes a number of well-respected speakers, but there was something distinctive about tonight's message.
All of this really goes to the core of what the Acton Institute is and always has been about. And that is the dignity of every single human life. Unrepeatable. Think about that. You and I will never be repeated.
It is one thing to complain about the plight of the poor. It is another to do something constructive about it.
We bring our talents, we bring our knowledge, we bring our intellect, we bring our risk, we bring our courage, we bring our heroism, to bear on this material world, and we draw out from it what was already embedded in this world. Why? Because it was embedded in this world because God made the material world to begin with. And that's why piety is never a substitute for technique.
Boy left with a new sense of purpose, a way to move forward in a noisy world.
We need to stop fighting over children, but start fighting for children. And I think that's a very important shift that has to happen in the national discourse about education.
Children are not widgets to be engineered. They are persons, each born with an innate creativity that should be unleashed to explore and enhance the world.